I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending November the 16th, where steer and heifer calves across most of the country were steady to $3 lower. That's all weights of calves, both stockers and your heavier feeding type calves, except for the I-70 corridor ranging from eastern Colorado across most of Kansas and throughout Missouri, where most of your calves are selling steady to $3 higher. But a lighter test of cattle going directly into the feedlot, both true yearlings, which are really hard to find right now, especially green or grass only type yearling feeders, extremely hard to find, and the kind of heavier calves that they like to go right into the feedlot, which would be long time weaned, over 60 days weaned. A lighter test of those cattle going right into the feedlot, sold on a higher undertone, except on direct markets down the southern plains, where they sell a lot of cattle going straight into the feedlots and not passing through any kind of an auction. Those cattle were just as much lower as the calves were down there, steady to $3 lower, because mostly they're dominated by growing yard cattle, and those cattle are going to be fleshier and not as desired for your feedlots. But demand is pretty much split. Your best demand is in the Midwest and in the northern plains, where you've got some backgrounders, a lot of guys that farm too. They're completely done with harvest now. They were disappointed in that. They're looking for some way to try to make a little bit of money. They're ready to background some cattle. Last week's cold front, it got really cold, which helped. It got rid of the flies, it got rid of a lot of the sickness, and it caused your temperatures to be overall more consistently cold instead of these sparks going up and down all the time. And that's when the cattle do better, and that's when your Midwestern Northern Plains guys like to background cattle, is in the cooler weather. Seems like they have a lot more luck there, and a lot of those guys did come into the market, even though we had lower overall calf prices. The demand you could see was a lot better in the Midwest and the Northern Plains. Now, on the other hand, your demand has grown progressively lighter in the Southern Plains, especially in your Texas and Oklahoma wheat pasture areas, where that moisture that they've been waiting on in those dryland wheat pastures has never developed, and then the cold temperatures there actually make that wheat just really shrink up, and then it almost looks like it crawls back into the ground, and you're not expecting a whole lot of growth out of it. Even as the warm days come, you're not going to get as much growth as you were getting earlier. But wheat pasture deal really looked bright early in the year, early in the season, and it kind of just fizzled out as we couldn't get any moisture on it at all. Yeah, they do have irrigated patches. A lot of that they don't graze, but some of that they do. They've got some pretty nice wheat on that, but that costs a lot of money to pump water on it, and it pretty much, your wheat deal is kind of played out. A lot of the guys that have the calves that they bought to turn out on wheat, some of them never did turn them out. Some of them turned them out early. They're all ready to pull them off. And there'll be some calves up for sale, some lighter weight, preconditioned and backgrounded lighter calves that have been on wheat for a short time, or maybe still in the preconditioned lot, ready to go somewhere else, as the wheat's just not going to be what we thought it was going to be. But your cattle on feed report this week come out, and it was just almost exactly what the analysts thought. All three categories within 0.2 of a percentage point of what the actual was. November 1st inventories on feed were 94.7% of a year ago. Placements only 87.5% of a year ago, and marketings were 102.8% of a year ago. So you look at that and you think, boy, this thing's really going to take off with a cattle on feed report like that. We've all known that. We've known that that the availability of feeder cattle is extremely tight. Our numbers are down across the United States. Our calf crop is the smallest in 60 years. That placement total that come out this past Friday is the smallest placement total since that series of cattle on feed reports started in 1996. So yeah, we're not going to have a whole lot of feeder cattle to go on feed. Our numbers in the feedlot are becoming lighter. Sales of market ready cattle have been fairly brisk, 102.8 compared to a year ago. But it's just, the carcass weights are so heavy, they're offsetting a lot of that head count. These cattle have really performed well. Really, for the last 3 years, cattle have really performed well in the feedlot. We had the highest monthly carcass weights that we've ever had in the history of the world in October. And the highest dressed steer carcass weight on a weekly basis was 880 pounds, the heaviest one ever recorded, and it happened twice in October. So you're looking, that's a lot of tonnage on the market. But your fat cattle market was a bit better this week, from steady to $1 higher, from 125 to 126, steady to 2 higher on dress basis at 196. Your regional weighted averages this week, there's a lot of 6-weight calves out there, weaned and unweaned, but every single week that goes by, there's a higher percentage of them that are weaned at least 30 days. Your buyers really like them weaned 45 to 60 days, but any weaning is better than none. But in the north central states, a 6 to 7 weight steer calf cost you $153.41 compared to $151.37 and $148.60 a year ago. Down in the south central states, 6 to 700 pound steer, $147.23 compared to $148.40 last week and $143.28 a year ago. And down the southeast, and a lot of those might be yearlings, 6 to 700 pound steer, $133.19 compared to $134.21 last week and $132.42 a year ago. That wraps up your feeder summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. And from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, talk to you next week.